Welcome to Spotlite Radio. Spotlite is the place to meet the most interesting people, executives, professionals, and today's most notable experts share their wealth of knowledge and vast experience with us live. Listen and learn in depth directly from today's leaders and tomorrow's highest climbers. Spotlite Radio shines on the people that you want to hear every day, on demand and in real time on SpotliteRadio.com. The world's most fascinating people are right here on Spotlite Radio.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm your host, Marcus Edwards. It's my pleasure today to introduce you all to my guest. She is the owner of Foxx Piano Studio. Everyone, Jennifer Foxx. Miss Foxx, thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Pleasure to have you on the program. To start our conversation here, Jennifer, give us some insight on what it was that inspired you to get involved with music.
Well, I took lessons as a child and just kind of grew up with it, and actually majored in elementary education, but decided that I wanted my focus to be on music, so I ended up doing a studio with piano lessons.
Excellent. And so since then, you've really been able to grow your abilities and start your own company where now you're actually able to teach the next generation of pianists. Give us some insight on how you go about selecting a good instructor for folks out there who are looking to learn for themselves or perhaps for their children for that matter. Or what are some of the different things they should be thinking and considering when selecting a teacher?
Okay. Well, first, that I think is important is to interview with the teacher that you're looking at. Interview says a lot when you go into the studio. Does the teacher conduct recitals throughout the year? Do they do group lessons or private or a little bit of both? Do they offer music camps? Do they offer lab time where the kids can go on the computer outside of their lesson time? Just different things like that. There's a lot of things that can happen in a lesson, and it's good to make sure you have a good match of what you are looking for.
Understood. So a match obviously is important as well. What about the aspirations for the student? How important is it to understand how far you're looking to go? Is this a circumstance where it's just for casual, the pleasure of yourself, or for those folks who are out there inspiring to do big things?
Right. Well, one thing you need to understand is learning music is like learning a foreign language. It takes time to become fluent, so you need to have realistic goals. So if you want just the basics, that's going to take a little less time, but if you want to be pretty fluent in it, it's going to be more of a commitment. So something to keep in mind, whether you're taking for yourself or a child is taking, is to be patient and, that it will come, but it also it will take practice.
I see. And, of course, practice makes perfect. Is that right?
Practice makes almost perfect. I don't know if there's such thing as perfect.
Understood. Let's talk a little bit about practice. How much time is necessarily needed? As an instructor, obviously you have your time with the student working together, but once you leave, of course, there is some responsibility on them as well. How do you instruct your students in that regard?
Well, first, it needs to happen daily. Teachers only see their student once a week for a short time, and then the rest of the time is the follow-up at home. So it needs to be consistent. Even if I like to tell my students I would like their practice to be more goal-oriented, something specific that they're trying to accomplish in their practicing versus watching the clock, because you can waste a lot of time just counting down the minutes. Mm-hmm. The other thing is, as far as parents go, don't expect the child to take the full responsibility of the practicing. They are kids, and there's a lot of distraction nowadays, with technology. So even though they might not want to practice, doesn't necessarily mean they don't want to play piano or they don't want to learn. It's just they need to be reminded, and that's a normal thing. And then the other thing to keep in mind is there's going to be ups and downs, just like a roller coaster ride. There's times that they're going to love it, and usually that's when they're feeling good and it's pretty easy. But then there's going to be a moment when things start to get hard, and they're going to fight that just naturally, and just know that that's a natural process. There's going to be ups and downs throughout the process.
Absolutely. And so there is a level of growing with it. Is that right? Some growing pains?
Definitely. Definitely.
Understood. So for folks who are listening in today, we want to be able to encourage them to get in contact with you for your services. You're located there in Arizona. Talk to us a little about your studio, the work that's being done there, and how people can reach you.
Well, I do quite a lot in my studio. I am big on motivation and keeping students motivated and playing. So I do quite a bit of recitals throughout the year. We do a Halloween recital. They play Christmas during this holiday time, and they do a lot of events that they could participate in, and I think that's important. And then we do camps twice a year. We do a Christmas camp and a summer camp, and I do lab in my studio as well. So I keep them busy. So we have a lot of fun.
Good. So that's a great opportunity there. Obviously, keeping them having a goal in mind, something to work towards, obviously gives a sense of inspiration.
Definitely, yeah.
Absolutely. Is there any level of competition involved here as well when it comes to this type of music, this type of work as a pianist? Is there any sort of level of competition where you're part of other events where you're competing against another musician?
There is opportunities for that. I belong to a Music Teacher Association, and there's competitions that students could participate through the organization, which is another thing that if people should think about when looking for a teacher is the teacher involved in professional organizations, because that's going to give them more opportunities as a student if the teacher is. So, yeah, there's a lot there that they can do.
Excellent. For all of our listeners who are joining us today, we want to be able to encourage them to get in contact with you directly through your website, which is foxpianostudio.com. That's FOXX pianostudio.com. What can we find there online?
Well, you could find all about what I do in the studio. I also have a blog off of that website link, and that really showcases what we do throughout the year.
Wonderful. So we want to encourage our listeners to definitely check out the site right away to learn a lot more. And I want to thank you so much, Ms. Foxx, for coming on the program today and speaking with us.
Well, thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. To our listeners, I'd like to let you know you've been listening to Spotlight Radio. Stick around, everybody. After this quick commercial break, we're going to return with another special guest here on SpotlightRadio.com.
You're listening to Spotlight Radio. Stay tuned for more from today's highest climbers and top professionals.